Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira. As always, let's begin with the latest headlines from around the world. Republicans dominate the US midterm elections, win majority in the Senate to take control of both chambers of the US Congress. Al-Qaeda-linked Rausan group targeted by the US airstrikes in Syria. Airstrikes reportedly kill key French bomb maker. Islamist group says women and children killed in the strikes. Despite funds pouring in for the fight against Ebola, UN mission head in West Africa says shortage of resources hampering efforts to check the spread of the virus. And Cristiano Ronaldo adds another trophy to his impressive haul. Footballer bags Golden Boot for third time after being La Liga's top scorer last season. Our top focus on the show this week. After the midterm rout in the US elections, President Barack Obama is promising to end the political gridlock in the country. He expressed readiness to work with the new Congress to bring in productive reforms. To the Americans who voted for a change, he said, "I hear you."
I want you to know that I hear you. To the two-thirds of voters who chose not to participate in the process yesterday, I hear you too.
US President Barack Obama accepting defeat, but equally adamant that the stinging rebuke at the midterm polls was not a vote against new reforms. Obama has expressed willingness to work with the new Congress on issues of international concern, but at the same time insisting that the historic win by Republicans will not compromise his administration's core principles.
Congress will pass some bills I cannot sign. I'm pretty sure I'll take some actions that some in Congress will not like. That's natural. That's how our democracy works.
On the other hand, Republicans are promising more cooperation and better understanding.
We need to embrace the energy revolution that's going on in our country, promote it. It's hugely advantageous to America, not only in the area of energy independence, but employment. The president's indicated he's interested in doing tax reform. We all know having the highest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world is a job exporter. All this talk about job exportation.
But despite the suggestions of openness, stumbling blocks remain, starting with the potential White House action on immigration, tax reforms, and Obama's appointment of a new Attorney General. Obama is clear that he will repel efforts by his opponents to undercut landmark policies on healthcare and environment.
Joining me on the program this week is former Ambassador B.S. Prakash. Ambassador Prakash, thank you for joining me on the program. Let's talk about let's talk about the midterm polls in detail now. Of course, it was a major jolt as far as Obama and his administration is concerned. Republicans there controlling both houses of U.S. Parliament right now. So, how do you see this going forward? Because the Republicans and Obama have said that they're going to both work together and break the political gridlock. Do you see that happening?
Well, I think that is more an expression of good intention and to some extent hope rather than really a description of the reality. I think we have seen enough evidence to show that the distrust is pretty deep, and I think the differences are also quite deep. So it would be wonderful for the US and for the world and for everyone in the world in a turbulent period if they are able to work together. But frankly, as someone who watches the US, who tries to understand the dynamics in the US, I see that very difficult to achieve. Like, for instance, even on important issues like healthcare and immigration, the Republicans, even when they did not have the Senate, have very little that they have given. Most importantly, I think the most important thing for the US is to really balance the budget, to be able to, depending on your financial kind of perspective, to be able to raise taxes or to do things which are really necessary, structurally necessary. I think this really goes beyond the president or the Congress. These are necessary things for the US, as any analyst would tell you. But I think there has been very little agreement on this. And I think the election results really express a sense of frustration. Frustration with the president, but frustration with the Congress And surprisingly, at a time when the US is not doing too badly. You know, the US economy is now growing at 3%. Nobody expected that 2 years ago. Their unemployment figures are better than what they were. People are getting employment. But there is a frustration with Washington, both the wings of the Washington. And I think this has manifested itself in these results. So in my view, to conclude this, this thought, in my view, it really complicates an already complex situation. Okay. And one has to be a real optimist to see that they will be able to work together. But that is the stated intention. Let us wish them best.
Indeed, we have to wish them best. And let's hope that, for the entire world's sake, that Congress and Obama can work together. But talking about the elections itself and the voter turnout has been extremely low as far as the midterm polls are concerned. So do you think that's going to have any kind of bearing as far as the main election 2 years from now is concerned? Is Obama going to lose, or his party actually, Obama's party, going to lose in 2016?
Not necessarily, and it is there is no direct correlation, I think. I think figures reveal that the dissatisfaction or the level of satisfaction the other way around with the Congress was 12%. Obama has a 40% rating. It's not excellent. It is certainly much lower than what it was, but he still has a 40% approval rating. But the approval rating for the Congress as a whole is 12%. So people are just fed up with the Congress. And when I say Congress, both parties, yes, the Republicans and Democrats, they feel that Washington is a town that is dysfunctional, that just makes things get paralyzed. It is inactive. It is worse than inactive, that it is really dysfunctional.
So the electorate has sent out a message, you're saying?
At this time. But to answer your question, really, if, for instance, Hillary Clinton were to become the candidate for the Democratic Party, and I think last time what happened was the youth, the ethnic minorities, whether it's the Hispanic or other minorities, and the youth and women, they were all energized. They voted for Obama. And he created a kind of a rainbow coalition, which was very impressive. Perhaps that might happen again, depending on who the candidates are.
Indeed.
So I think with regard to an executive presidency, and 2 years is a long time in US politics, things may change.
Things may change. We'll have to wait and see what exactly happens in the US. But in the meantime, of course, a secret letter written by US President Barack Obama to Iran's supreme leader has triggered a huge controversy. The Wall Street Journal reported that Obama sought Ayatollah Khamenei's help in fighting the war against the Islamic State, while reminding him of the interest shared by both nations in defeating the jihadist group. The Republicans are, however, calling the letter a sellout of US interests.
In the fight against the Islamic State, the US is desperately scouting for more allies. And President Obama feels even Iran isn't out of bounds. Although the White House isn't confirming if Obama wrote to Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei last month to seek his help in the war.
But since we know that there has been communication between the U.S. and Iran on this matter, why can't you say if that communication happened at the level of the president and the supreme leader?
Just because I'm not in a position to talk about private correspondence that may
that there was a letter sent?
I'm not going to be in a position to talk about private correspondence between the president and another world leader.
The Republicans are calling Obama's step outrageous. Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham released a joint statement reminding the administration that this Iranian regime cares more about trying to weaken America and push us out of the Middle East than cooperating with us. But the White House clarified that U.S. policy towards Iran hasn't changed.
I can tell you that the policy that the president and his administration have articulated about Iran remains unchanged. The United States is engaged in conversations with Iran in the context of the P5+1 talks to resolve the international community's concerns about Iran's nuclear program.
Obama reportedly also told Khamenei that cooperation on the war with the IS will be contingent on Iran reaching an agreement by 24th November. Khamenei, however, ruled out helping the US, going to even accusing Washington of creating the jihadist group in the first place as a tool against Iran.
Well, there you have it, of course, this letter that Obama allegedly wrote to Iran's supreme leader, of course, creating quite a bit of controversy in the United States. Republicans have already come out and lashed out at President Obama. But in the scheme of things, do you think it was the right thing to do as far as Obama is concerned?
It depends on the perspective, but I think let us really look at it from the point of view of India's perspective. And from the point of view of a rational perspective of somebody who wants to make progress and increase the peace and security in the world rather than antagonisms. I think what Obama is doing on both fronts are, I think, quite logical. One is to find a solution, to find a negotiated solution to the nuclear issue. And P5+1 are involved in this process. So therefore, Iran doesn't fully get their bomb status, but at the same time, Iran gets its nuclear status in terms of whatever programs that they are doing, but it is defanged in a certain sense, and I think a lot of progress has been made, and that's quite remarkable, and one should continue on that path. And the second aspect is really to fight this kind of complete brutality, as people say, who puts even Al-Qaeda to shame. And there, in the coalition that has already been formed, who are the two logical people who should be a part of that coalition in some form or the other? They are Iran and Syria. And these two were left out for completely political reasons and for sectarian reasons. Because America's traditional friends are the Sunni states like Saudi Arabia, Qatar. And I think there is some truth when Iran says that you really caused this problem. Because, by really constantly propping up these kinds of entities and then increasing sectarian tensions in Iraq and elsewhere, I think ISIS, one can have a lot of different arguments about how ISIS has come about, but ultimately it represents these sectarian tendencies and it represents a completely unacceptable face of Islamic extremism. Iran is a logical choice in really having understanding with Iran would be a logical thing to do.
You brought up the US's allies in the Gulf, that is the Sunni states of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and some of the other Sunni states, of course.
Right.
How is this really going to go down with America's allies there in the region?
You see, it's easy to say that they will be outraged, and I think they might be. It is easy to say that they're outraged. But for an analyst, for somebody who is seeing it, I think there are contacts, for instance, between Saudi Arabia and Iran. I mean, if you were to really look at that entire region, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, these can't be wished away. Iran is not going to go away. And they are a factor, an important factor in the equations. And supposing tomorrow, hypothetically tomorrow, America does make up with Iran, the nuclear issue is solved, Iran is relatively compared to all these other jokers and players, a much more stable, mature and serious state. America makes up with Iran. Where does that leave Saudi Arabia? And Qatar, as you would know, has tied itself up in knots in very many different ways. They have been funding, supporting groups and then changing sides and so on. So I think Iran, Republicans may dislike it. The Americans, because of years of brainwashing, may have that kind of a basic hostility to it. But it is a serious country. And again, we recognize it in India. Our foreign policy recognizes that it's a serious country to do business with. We are not fully supportive of everything with Iran. But if you are looking at an entity like ISIS, and if you are looking at that region, how do you not really at least have an understanding or at least some kind of a talks with Iran? So I think it's a secret thing to do. It's a sensible thing to do, but it's also not surprising that it had to be done secretively, because the simplicity and the naivety with which Americans react, particularly against this president, I think makes him perhaps do that.
So that's why he was forced to do that, is what you're saying. All right.
Yes.
Ambassador Prakash, thank you so much for joining us on the program and sharing your views on both those very crucial and important subjects. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On that note, of course, let's move on now. And the US military, meanwhile, carried out airstrikes against the Al-Qaeda-linked Rausan group in northwestern Syria. The US hit 5 targets related to the group, including several vehicles and buildings near the border with Turkey. Here's a detailed report.
US US airstrikes in Syria killed a key French jihadist who was part of the militant Khorasan group. The strike happened overnight Wednesday in Idlib near Turkey's border. The US military fired at a vehicle it believed carried David Drudgen, a skilled bomb maker in his 20s who also has ties to coal Al-Qaeda members in Pakistan. The Khorasan group is made up of senior Al-Qaeda leaders who have moved into Syria. The US military's Central Command announced that 5 US airstrikes targeted the Khorasan group in Syria on Wednesday night. The airstrikes hit terrorists and destroyed or severely damaged several Khorasan group vehicles and buildings. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which monitors the violence, said several militants and 2 children had died in the attack. It is the second time US strikes have targeted Khorasan, whom it accuses of planning attacks on the US and Europe. Little is known about Khorasan other than information released by US officials. They say the group is made up of veteran fighters from Afghanistan and Pakistan region who have embedded within Al-Qaeda's Syria branch, the Al-Nusra Front.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come. Ebola faces a major shortage of resources. We'll tell you all about it in just a bit. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the UN Ebola mission in West Africa is facing a funds crunch to fight the deadly virus despite significant contributions from across the world. A WHO report said out of the planned 4,707 beds in Ebola treatment centers, only 22% are operational. They are blaming delays in insufficient numbers of foreign medical teams.
The funds are pouring in, but they are still not enough. The UN Ebola mission head in West Africa says he lacks adequate resources to fight Ebola. The admission comes even as the Islamic countries and Islamic Development Bank pledged millions of dollars to fight the virus.
دولار منحة حتساعد في مكافحة هذا المرض وتكون فيها دعم للأطباء أو بناء الكوادر الطبية كذلك لإيجاد بعض الأبحاث التي تساعد مكافحة هذا المرض.
In Liberian capital Monrovia, there is a decline in the spread of Ebola, but there is a significant acceleration in other parts of the country. A new Ebola clinic in Liberia is now treating medical workers who became infected while caring for others.
They were trained to preserve life, and they gave life. Those are the doctors and the nurses and the physician assistants and the support workers, 2 healthcare workers that actually went out there not knowing what they were dealing with.
The Dutch Navy is sending one of its biggest ships to West Africa. It is carrying an entire hospital, 100 vehicles, ambulances, mobile laboratories, protection suits, beds for patients, generators and medicines.
What we will do is bring all these goods which are collected by the European Union towards the affected countries in West Africa. Once we've delivered the goods, we will remain in the area and we will do the internal transport over there.
Meanwhile, the Spanish nurse infected with Ebola has been discharged from the hospital after beating the disease. According to WHO, 4,818 people have died of Ebola as of now. In Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea, the transmission of Ebola remains widespread, particularly in capital cities.
Moving on, now responding favorably to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India initiative, his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu has told visiting Indian Home Minister Rajnath Singh that his country is keen to take advantage of the move. Netanyahu said that Israel is ready and willing to discuss transfer and development of technologies with India. The Israeli leader also expressed willingness to send a delegation from Israeli industries to visit India to explore manufacturing opportunities in different sectors. Well, much else has been unfolding around the world. Here's a quick wrap of the other international news of the week.
Tens of thousands of people took to the streets of Moscow to mark Unity Day. This year, the parade had a distinct flavor of defiance against the West. Flags of the self-proclaimed People's Republics of Donetsk and Luhansk in eastern Ukraine could be seen among the sea of tricolour Russian standards. In the suburbs, anti-immigration banners from nationalists filled the streets, signifying the growing strength of the far right. Libya's highest court has ruled that general elections held in June were unconstitutional and that the country's parliament and government, which resulted from that vote, should be dissolved. The development further deepened the rift in the politically divided Libya, which has been mired in months-long clashes and turmoil. The Supreme Constitutional Court handed down the ruling in the capital Tripoli, which is controlled by Islamist allied militias. Diplomats pressing Burkina Faso's military ruler to return the country to civilian rule said they are seeking names of people who could serve as interim heads of state until elections are held. The presidents of Nigeria, Senegal and Ghana were in Burkina Faso to mediate after the African Union gave Burkina Faso's military a 2-week deadline to hand over power or face sanctions that could cripple the country. With the November 24th deadline looming for the expiry of an interim agreement on Iran's nuclear program, the prospects for a comprehensive deal remain most uncertain. The discussions between Iran and the UN Security Council plus Germany have already been extended once, and observers warn a further couple of months may yet be required. Vincent van Gogh's floral masterpiece has fetched $61.8 million at Sotheby's auction in New York. Gogh's painting was created at the French home of his doctor just months before his death in 1890 and was one of the few works the painter sold during his lifetime. Simon Shaw, Sotheby's co-head of Impressionist and Modern Art, said that with its connotations of healing, strength and magic, this heroic sculpture was a symbol of renewal following the Second World War. The painting was bought by a private bidder from Asia.
Let's shift focus now and bring you up to speed with all the sports news from around the world in our Sports Wrap. Portuguese football star Cristiano Ronaldo has been awarded the Golden Shoe Award to add another trophy to his impressive haul. The Real Madrid superstar shared the award with Barcelona's Luis Suarez after scoring an outstanding 31 times for the La Liga club last season. It is the third time that Ronaldo has claimed the prize presented to the leading league goal scorer in Europe's top divisions, having previously won in 2008 and 2011. Argentina captain Lionel Messi equaled Raul's all-time Champions League record of 71 goals after he scored twice in Barcelona's 2-0 win against Ajax. Barca forward Messi scored in the 36th minute with a soft header after Ajax failed to clear a free kick. His 71st goal in the competition came after he linked with substitute Pedro in the 76th minute as Barca qualified for the last 16. 17-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer, Britain's #1 Andy Murray and the Bryan brothers are among the winners of the ATP World Tour Awards. Federer's peers selected him as winner of the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award for a 10th time, while Murray received the Arthur Ashe Humanitarian Award for his involvement in fundraising exhibitions and campaigns. Bob and Mike Bryan took the doubles award for a 6th straight year. India's star batsman Virat Kohli and Indian women team skipper and #1 ranked batter Mithali Raj have been nominated for the LGICC 2014 Cricketer of the Year awards. AB de Villiers, Charlotte Edwards, Mitchell Johnson, Angelo Matthews, Mithali Raj, Kumar Sangakkara and Stephanie Taylor have been nominated for 2 awards each. Cricket Australia has apologised to national T20 captain Aaron Finch after he went close to being burnt in a sideline pyrotechnics mishap. Finch was shocked when he came within a metre of a burst of flame fired from a flamethrower as he went to fetch the ball just over the Adelaide Oval boundary line during his team's loss to South Africa. Moving on now, let's take a look at what's creating a buzz in the world of show business. Here's our entertainment wrap.
Kevin Spacey has been cast as Richard Nixon opposite Michael Shannon's Elvis Presley in the upcoming drama Elvis and Nixon. The film will be directed by Lisa Johnson and produced by Cashin Elvis and Holly Biersma. Elvis and Nixon recounts the moment when the king of rock and roll showed up on the White House lawn to request that the President of the United States swear him as an undercover federal agent at large. Oscar-winning star Chris Cooper will be portraying late author J.D. Salinger in the upcoming film Coming Through the Rye. The project, which is a coming-of-age story set in 1969, would see Emmy-winning TV director Jim Sedgwick make his feature film debut and would star Alex Wolff and Stefania Owen. Beyoncé has been named as the top-earning woman in music by Forbes magazine, beating the likes of Taylor Swift and Pink. The 33-year-old singer has raked in $115 million in 2014. According to Forbes, the American singer had the biggest year of her career, where she played 95 shows and cashed in an average of $2.4 million in each city. Other female celebs on the list were Katy Perry, Jennifer Lopez, Miley Cyrus and Celine Dion. Taylor Swift's new album 1989 has topped the maximum sales by any album in its very first week. The 24-year-old's latest album, which has debuted at number 1 on America's Billboard 200 albums chart, has already sold 1.3 million copies in its first week. According to Billboard, this is the largest sales week for an album since Eminem's The Eminem Show that was released 12 years ago. Kelly Rowland and husband Tim Witherspoon are proud first-time parents to a healthy baby boy. The 33-year-old singer told reporters that they were thrilled to announce the birth of their first child and felt blessed that everyone was healthy and happy. The former Destiny's Child member and Witherspoon have named their son Titan Jewel.
Well, the Country Music Association held its yearly awards on Wednesday night in Nashville, Tennessee. Country music stars were out in full force for the event. The biggest winner at the event was musician Miranda Lambert. She won 4 awards, including Single of the Year. I'm going to leave you with visuals from the awards ceremony. Enjoy, and I'll see you again next week.
Just can't let you go. Ooh. When I walk along some railroad track